Welcome to the Jeremy Mullins podcast, where we take a deep dive into different educational topics to help you optimize your life. I am Jeremy, your host, and I am back today with my co-host, Mr. Reno.
How's it going?
It's going, hammering home the week. I've had two or three good podcasts. My clients are doing well. We're 6 weeks into the new year, so we're rocking and rolling.
No, it's awesome. It seems like all the advisors are having a lot of success going into this year. It seems
Yeah,
unbelievable.
loving it. And we did it was cool. It looked at this position paper from the ISSN that was looking at, body composition and diets. And we used a little bit of that, the body composition podcast with Dr. Vic. And it was just a cool statement I said in there, which is good because it goes right with what, I've been educating on the last decade. Like, it doesn't matter if you're high carb, low carb, eat 6 times a day, 4 times a day, fill in the blank. It comes down to, like, if you have an isocaloric diet and the protein remains the same, that's the cool little point of it, that fat loss remains the same, right? So, making sure that we're in that calorie deficit and hitting the optimal amount of protein, like, that is where we need to be to see the fat loss and maintaining muscle tissue throughout this journey. And like you said, the people in our little ecosystem and other advisors, like, man, there's a lot of people out there having success, which is awesome.
Yeah, and you say it all the time. Simple is sexy, or in other words, just consistency is king. That's proof right there, just on that paper.
100%. Now, today's topic, I think, works out really well. It's not, okay, we're not looking at research for this. It's going to be tips on traveling. And I think, I think our spouses and significant others, probably don't want us to be semi-experts in this topic. But the reality is, you and I both, travel a lot, for myself with the First Farm and the military, and then you with the military. And I think it's, it was something I was noticing a lot in my trip in January. Kind of took a look at, what people were doing. And I noticed it for myself because I had a kind of back-to-back trips to St. Louis. One was with Katie and one was by myself. And I noticed with Katie, it was more for our awards banquet. So it was more of a fun trip, for lack of better terms. It was not a work trip, right? So we flew to Miami. In Miami, we had mimosas, grabbed some lunch, because we're enjoying each other's time. We're enjoying the experience, right? I didn't do purpose walking or anything like that when I traveled with her. It was just, enjoying each other's time, having some drinks. Yes, when we got there, we were still active. We still worked out. But, my point being with this is, if we're traveling for work, it needs to kind of take on a mindset for most people versus just traveling. And what I'm saying for that, if you look back at a lot of our habits and a lot of the things that we do in life, we do that because that's what we've learned over time and has become a habit, or or lack of better terms, it's an anchor. We call these anchors, right? So the anchor is the trip, anchor is the travel, right? So for most of us growing up, when we travel, it's vacation, right? So when you travel, hey, mom and dad get you, desserts a little bit more often, right? You get to get candy at the gas stations, or, for adults, we're having drinks, right? Because you're going on a fun trip, you're going on vacation. And I think for a lot of people, that's where they start struggling when they start having to travel for work often, is those habits that were instilled in their earlier years or in their past trips come out to play, right? They've never looked at it as a standpoint like, okay, where are the quote healthy choices, or, hey, oh, I didn't think about that. I could get, an hour walking in at the airport before my flight, right? So I think that's a lot of, where people struggle with this is because of just past experience inside the realm of traveling, because we've done that for leisure and for fun.
Yeah, and you'll see it in the airports. It's all convenience factor. It's meant to be grab and go. Even the restaurants are pretty much grab and go, even if it's your normal Applebee's in the store. But just to keep those anchor points, if I try to work out in the mornings. If I have a early flight and it just doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But I do try to implement my gym session or whatever session before flying. So that way I'm not rushed when I get to the hotel and have to catch up on things and try to work out in the hotel gym, because it's just not going to happen.
100%. So that would be the first thing I would have people, kind of think about, is just, kind of take a step back and look at it as, hey, I'm okay if you want to have some mimosas, you want to enjoy your vacation, if it's a vacation, right? I think there has to be that balance in life. It has to be, what is the ultimate goal that we're looking at to make these adjustments, okay? Now, with that being said, if we're traveling on a weekly basis, if we're traveling, on a monthly basis, and we need to start really dialing this in because it is affecting our goals and it is affecting us achieving the goals that we have, then we got to look at alternatives, right? And a lot of times it's just sitting back and making a plan. Because I would argue that a lot of people, when you travel for work, to a degree, it's the same trips, right? And I got it, Reno. I know that you fly to different areas, but the reality is you're probably flying out of the same airport to maybe the same connector or the same two connectors. So there is some similarity in what we're doing, right? There are some convenient stores or convenient gas stations that are along our route that are available. Okay, so you can start looking for better choices as you move, throughout this. Okay, and what I normally do, and so that everybody understands this, so yes, we have drill, once a month, but then we also have our courses that we do every quarter, for the military. So I'm at least traveling, by car, one time a month, sometimes two times a month, and of course traveling by air probably every other month. And when I travel by car, what I've started doing is going to grocery store, right? And I would encourage a lot of people when you travel and you're in car, is to look for grocery stores, because a lot of times we're like, oh, we think it's so long to go to the grocery store to pick up X, Y, and Z. But you have to remember that is because generally when you go to the grocery store, you are purchasing maybe for a week or 2 weeks when you're home. So that's the reason that trip takes X amount of time. But if you're only going to go in and purchase for 2 or 3 days or a week, you can get in and out of a grocery store in I would say 10 to 15 minutes and get what you need for that week. So I've been going in and I generally stock up on either pre-made like turkey sandwiches or items to make turkey sandwich. That way I can manipulate, of course, how much protein I'm using via the turkey sandwich. I will make sure that, of course, I get, bottled water. And I look for the RTD, so the ready to drink protein shakes. And, once again, there's multiple ones on the market. I still think that at this current time, powdered protein shakes is your best option as far as quality. But once again, in a pinch and in travel, the RTDs are a great choice, right? So the RTD, just ready to drink protein shakes. So I'll stack my cooler up full of those. That way I have them, right? And that allows me to make better choices on the trip because I already have those things available in the car. It's a lot quicker, it's a lot more convenient, and it saves me money because the $100 I spend at the grocery store will last me those 4 or 5 days versus $100 if you're talking about getting multiple, good choices at Subway or gas stations, etc. $100 doesn't last very long.
No, yeah, I mean, anyone that flies, you can go to a convenience store and my typical, if I get a protein shake and a protein bar, it's like 12, $14 just for those two items. The thing that I have started to implement the last two trips is, man, and I should have known this, but you can just make your food and bring it with you. It's the drinks that are the problem. So you can't have any beverages going through TSA. But if you like rice and chicken or eggs and toast or whatever you want, pack it up in a box and you put it on your carry-on and bring it with you. That can go through TSA. That's a new way that I've saved money and also just eliminated the processed kind of crappy protein bars and protein drinks that are in the airport.
And the other thing, you can do is look at your area, what restaurants are available. Okay. And this is a lot of people wouldn't think that a Mexican restaurant would have good quote unquote macro friendly food. But there is a Mexican restaurant right off post, in Frankfurt that we go to that our team does a lot of the breakfast burritos. And what we do to make it a little bit more macro friendly, because if you think about it, they come with, bacon or steak, your choice of a protein, eggs, and potatoes. So not that the potatoes are bad, right? But for most of us, removing the potatoes and asking for extra egg helps with the macros, right? Because it provides a little bit more protein. It takes away the potato carbohydrate, but you're getting plenty of carbohydrate in your floured tortilla that they come in. So we'll do that, and these are relatively inexpensive, looking at $6 to $8, per breakfast burrito. So we could do half of those with a protein shake, and get, basically your breakfast and your lunch in at a really inexpensive way. So I'm
Mhm.
not saying, to the listener, like, hey, you need to find a breakfast burrito place. But what I'm saying is if you're traveling to the same area, look and see what is in that area so you can have your go-tos that, okay, I know I can get this there. And that just becomes what you get in that area. And Reno, that's no different. I've always done that. Like I don't look a lot of times at, I was going to say recipes. I don't look a lot of times at the menu. There we go. When I go to certain places, because if we're going to a certain place, I already know what I'm getting there, if that
Right.
makes sense, right?
Yeah, no,
Always
absolutely.
done. Yeah. So I have these go-tos that I know, like, all right, if we're eating at Chipotle, we're eating at Chick-fil-A, we're eating X, Y, and Z. I know what I'm getting there, right? So it's just automatic. So boom, I go there, I get it, and I don't have to think about it. And that just comes with the thought process of backing up, really planning it out based on where you're going to be, and then making those decisions ahead of time.
Yeah, and again at the Chipotle's, at the Qdoba's, at the Mexican restaurants, I mean, even if you have a Whole Foods near you, just go in there and order just a full thing of chicken. If you go to Chipotle, just like, hey, I want a bowl full of just chicken. That's it. It might cost you $25. It seems a lot in the beginning, but that bowl of chicken's gonna last you, I don't know, what, 2 meals, 2 days. And then you just got to buy those ready rice or whatever you want to use for your carb source. And you're saving hundreds of dollars.
And it's just going to you making the conscious effort, right? And I get it. When this journey, this health journey, and this eating well is new, a lot of us, these are obstacles, right? And I had a conversation with someone today on the app when I was walking this morning. I'm like, hey, we really got to think of these things as obstacles and how to work around them and work through them versus letting it be an excuse, right? Oh, I'm traveling, I can't eat good. There's nothing in the airport that is good. That is not true. That is just you listening to that, quote unquote bitch voice in your on your shoulder saying, okay, hey, you don't need to eat good. There's nothing here. Choose something bad. No, there is. But I understand where that's coming from. That is coming from just deep roots, habits, or what we call anchors, that are put into place. Okay. Now, any other tips that you can think about when traveling? I love the idea you mentioned early meal prep, go in the grocery store, pre-planning, taking stuff with you. I love that idea. We touched on ready to drink protein shakes. We touched on looking at your environment, knowing your area so you can have your go-tos. Anything else that we're missing there that you think we could add to this list?
Um, Really just don't go to the airport hungry is a big thing. Don't go to the airport hungry. Buy a snack at the airport or like a protein drink, protein bar at the airport. So that way when you land, because it's going to be an hour, hour and a half when you get your vehicle and drive to your hotel, don't be hungry there either. Because that's when you're going to make your mistakes. So that's probably my biggest thing in the whole category is don't show up hungry and don't leave the airport hungry.
I love it. Same thing going like at an event. We always say, hey, drink a protein shake before you go. Because most events, there's going to be food. It's just the
Right.
the protein foods may be lacking. Okay. So just to recap, guys, a lot of us are making choices on our travel just based on what we call anchors or based on habits, right? Because a lot of times when we travel earlier in our life or early in our adult life, it is for vacations, not necessarily for work. As you start transitioning more into your work travel, then unfortunately we fall back to those habits and the things that we've done, over the years. Okay. So make sure that you're trying to meal prep or go to the grocery store, which is one in the same, but you guys can get it, just different approaches there. The main goal there is you're having food readily available. You can also look at the RTDs, which is the ready to drink protein shakes, which most gas stations now have. You just got to find one that works for you. I'm a Fairlife fan. I know some people like Fairlife; they like different ones. But once again, find what works for you in those areas. And I will admit, I drink a lot more shakes when I travel than I do when I'm consistently out. Usually when I'm home, I'm a post-workout shake. Formula One. When I travel, I am a couple of Fairlives plus the post-workout shake. Right, just it helps me hit my numbers, helps me keep that cost down. And then look at your trends. And what I mean by that is the trends of what you do, but also what is in and around you. What restaurants are there? Where can you go out and pick good choices? And then have those go-tos, whether it be a convenience store, whether it be a gas station, whether it be the airport. Know places you can go in those areas and get the macro-friendly meals that is going to help you hit your macros to achieve your goals.
Yep, absolutely.
Awesome, guys. Well, we appreciate it bringing this topic in. Got a couple more things coming down the pipeline. We're going to talk about why the journal is so important. And what's cool about this one is we're going to talk about all aspects because, I'm seeing both ends of the spectrum when it comes to the journal. I had a lot of people message me and be like, Jeremy, I'm going to track for life. And I never thought about that. Some people like tracking. So tune in for our next episode. We're going to talk about why the journaling is so important. While some people only do it short term, other people might want to do it the rest of their life. Hope you guys have a great day. And once again, we appreciate you listening. If you do have any questions, please reach out to us.
See you.